Hi guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at the ultra sharp stones from Amazon. For 60 bucks, you get 3 2x6-inch stones. These are exactly 2-inch by 6-inch, and you get a 300, a 600, and a 1200 grit stone. Now this is an overview. I do not want to test these things long term. Let me show you why. First off, the 300 grit is ultra coarse and well coated with diamond. It made quick work profiling this A2 tool seal at 64 HRC. Apex in it after break-in less than 60 seconds. A very coarse stone, and it's a very good profiling stone. Made quick work of that, let me tell you. Handful of passes and we're apexed already. Next we have the 600, and we immediately run into some serious problems. So right off the bat, I'm noticing something. There's a couple of spots. One of them I can see with my naked eye. It's right there. The contamination is so bad and so large, I can actually see it with my naked eye pretty clearly. You might even be able to hear it. So the 600 here has some problems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least a dozen or so spots on the stone that are like that. And these are giant raised spots on the stone where something went wrong with the plating. And here we go. What is that? That is a giant clump of plating and diamond on the surface of the stone. Not good, and this is what it does to your bevel. When we run into that giant clump on the stone, we end up leaving scratches like this right down here and right here, all along the primary bevel. And this is noticeable with your naked eye. You can definitely see this right in here as well. And this is down the entire length of the bevel every time we run into one of those raised pieces on the stone. So what about the 1200? Well, listen. Even on the 1200, we have these giant clumps that leave these ultra crazy deep scratches in our finish. Even in areas where we don't have clumping, we have regular old grit contamination. You can see this grit piece right here is much larger than the surrounding particles. And again, this just leaves more to be desired with the stone set. So I'm really not sure I want to test these long term because, for one, they all have grit contamination except for the coarsest grit, which the coarsest grit, it doesn't really matter. It's a profiling stone. You want coarse. The grit contamination doesn't matter. You want to remove steel. But on the finer grits where you want to refine your scratch pattern, make your knife sharper, that's where the grit contamination really does come into play. The grit contamination off of the 6 and 1200, it's really not good. So are these capable of sharpening a knife? Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much everything's capable of sharpening a knife, even a brick. Are these the best value stones on the market? Well, the thing is that first off, you're looking at a 2x6-inch stone, which in my opinion works if you already know what you're doing. You can sharpen pretty much any knife on a stone this size. But if you're just getting started and you're looking for a good value stone, $60 on 3 of these, in my opinion, is not a good deal. There are better deals out there, especially in that price range, that'll give you better results for 60 bucks. So let's talk about a couple of those real quick. First and foremost, I think we have to talk about the Sharp Ball. I think this is still, at this point in time, one of the best value stones out there. For one, you get a 3x8-inch stone, and you get a 400 grit, or I'm sorry, a 325 grit is what they call it, and a 1200 grit. Now, when I tested this stone, there was very little to no grit contamination. I can't speak on the quality control. This is the only one I've ever seen, and maybe we'll buy another one here in the future and check it out as well. But even if this did have grit contamination, it's still going to be a better value than those stones. This stone right here is about 70 bucks. You get a much larger surface, and even though you only get 2 grits, you get the 325 and the 1200. That's really all you need. You don't need an in-between grit on these plated stones. You can jump right from this coarse side to this fine side, no problems whatsoever. Not only that, but you also get this case here, which does add some value, because otherwise, if you're just buying these things, you got to figure out some way to use these things to sharpen your knife. So you're going to have to set this on something or buy a mat or use one of these or just buy one of these, but this comes with it. So in my opinion, that does add a little bit of value. Is it $10 worth of value over the price of those? I think it is, because you get a much better stone, in my opinion, if you're just starting out, as well as even if you're a more experienced sharpener. You can do a lot more with this larger stone than you can with the smaller one. So in my opinion, this is a much better deal than that is at 60 bucks. The next way that you could go is you can buy a cheap $20 profiling stone. This is the SSATC stone. I'll link all this stuff below. And this is a $20 to $22 stone. This is going to be your profiling stone. Even though it is 2 grits, this stone has significant grit contamination as well, but that's not a problem if it's a profiling stone. You actually want the contamination because you want to remove steel as aggressively as possible, and you get the 400 here, and it does a really good job of profiling really quickly. I've had this for a while now, and I've used it extensively, and so far it's holding up really well. Now you compare this stone with something like the Koromaku 1000 from Sharpening. And this is a really good stone. I think these used to be about 50 bucks. They might be 60 bucks now, but you're still within the same price range as the ultra sharp stones. Now this 1000 grit stone is a true 1000 grit. There's no grit contamination. That leaves a really nice sort of medium coarse grit finish edge on your knife. It's not a fine grit finished edge. It's not a really coarse grit. It's right in the middle. It really does leave a nice finished edge on your knives. You compare this with a 3 micron or 1 micron strop and you're going to be golden. I really like the stone. It's a splash and go stone. No need to soak. You just spray some water on the surface and sharpen away, and it cleans right up. Very little loading, and it cuts pretty much any steel, no problem. So this is another good option if you are looking for a good starter value set. But yeah, this is what I would recommend over the $60 for those things. Don't be fooled by the 3 grits because you're really only getting like 1.
So this is a tough one because even though these stones do work, you can sharpen a knife on them. I just don't want to spend a whole ton of time testing these things long term when they're really just not that good out of the box. I do think that there are much better options out there for the price that these are selling for, and I would recommend those over these. So again, I don't really see any point in testing these any farther. It's kind of disappointing, but it is what it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, hope you got something from it, and we'll see you in the next one.